Dudes.
Represents a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States.
You have no idea what men of power can do. Fuck! Sick fuck!
Okay, welcome back to Clear and Present Dudes. 3 episodes in now. If you've stuck with us, thank you so much. And also, what's wrong with you? Seek help quickly. Once again, I'm Rory O'Toole. I'm the rather sketchy and dubious civilian who chums around with a couple of naval officers in this podcast that is a combination of defence matters, film studies, and undiagnosed neurodivergence. I'll introduce you to my friends, colleagues, unindicted co-conspirators, Meg Dunbar and Sanya Bjergsen.
Hello, I'm Mike Dunbar. I'm a naval officer, and I'm from Newcastle upon Tyne. And I really just love these movies.
Hi, I'm Sanya Bjergsen from Hamburg, Germany, and I have recently been part-time diagnosed with autism by my commanding officer, and this week's film pick is The Hunt for Red October. This week is my pick. The other two guys have been picking their films the last 2 times, and it's now time for the first installment in the Tom Clancy series. In this case, the film version of the book The Hunt for Red October, which came out in 1990.
You say you've been part-time diagnosed? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been having drinks with my CO, and it came up somehow, and she was like, "Yeah, I see you on the spectrum." Personally, I would have said autism, and this is coming from an army captain who's holding a degree in psychology. So I don't really know what to do with that.
Okay, sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
I mean that's amazing though, because you've essentially got the diagnosis without going through the trouble of getting the papers.
I just think it's incredibly funny that an army officer is the person who's doing that as well, because they are the first people to declare themselves OCD.
That's amazing. Fantastic. I'm gonna Sanya, I'm gonna get you one of those t-shirts. No, I was gonna say I'll get you one of those t-shirts that I've got that's got like undiagnosed, but something's not right. But clearly you've now ascended to the next level, as in a bar with an army officer has told you, you got the tism, man. You got the tism, bruh.
Just get me one that says my CO says something isn't right.
Oh, that's incredibly.
Before we get into the plot of the movie, I think we should talk about the movie more broadly, because our website, because our thing's called Clear and Present Dudes, and I think we should. I think the Clancyverse deserves a little bit of setting up.
The Clancyverse needs some severe setting up, yes.
And this is our first Jack Ryan, and Jack Ryan is very much the Jesus Christ of the Clancyverse. So we need to give some respect to his name. So this is the first one, isn't it? So this is Alec Baldwin, and I think one day we should do a pod about just doing the power rankings of all the Jack Ryans, right?
Yeah, we'll absolutely have to.
Yeah, man. Because you got Alec Baldwin, you got Harrison Ford, you got Ben Affleck, you got Chris Pine, and you got Jim from The Office. So that's going to be an amazing run. So I'm really looking forward to that. But
what did you think of your brief few episodes of season 1 of the Amazon Jack Ryan? By the way,
holy crap, man! It's a trip, isn't it? It's very different.
It's got a lot going on.
It's got a lot going on.
A pod about it.
What I really like, and I don't want to steal the sandwiches of that upcoming pod, is how Greer. They've done a lot of work to make Greer into a very different and quite compelling character.
Yeah.
I say that based off the first 3 episodes. I don't know if he's going to be compelling, but he's showing signs of being quite interesting, because he's like this dude. He isn't wearing any kind of rank, so he's an admiral in the movies, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's, because he's an admiral still. Is he in the admiral in the books still? He's Admiral Greer, right? He's an admiral.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's done that senior officer going into government kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which happens, First Sea Lord, Chief of Defence Staff, all that kind of stuff. But in the show, he's like a CIA lifer. He's doing CIA work all the time, and he's fucked up some big job in Pakistan, and that's why they've sent him back to.
I fucking love how they get so specific of how he biffed the job as well. Like, it isn't like kind of the brushing incident when they just talk about it vaguely. There was some fucking literal defenestration that went on.
He threw him out of a window, which is cool as fuck. But
I fucking love Greer. He's the world's most divorced man in that show.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, obviously, so I'm prior divorced. I am now married again to an amazing woman. However, like being a Marine, you're never truly an ex-divorced guy. You still have that within you. So game recognizes game in this one. I've actually been told, I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag, that I'm bizarrely the most divorced and the most married man in the world by someone. So yeah.
You know what, man? I love you. I love you, and I've loved you for 20 years. But but I see it, and I understand it, and I get it.
Yeah, I love you too, dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So Jim Greer's so fucking divorced in Jack Ryan. It's fucking amazing.
It's amazing.
Did you get the bit when they beat the French police? By the way.
Yes, I did, and I like so yeah. I know what you're gonna. It's the bit outside of. I'll tell you what. Right, first of all.
Yeah.
Greer and Ryan have got a ginormous carbon footprint because they cut around with that little Learjet everywhere, don't they?
Yeah.
Would it kill them? Would it kill them to get a commercial flight?
Or I mean, NASA could have just fucking delayed a commercial flight like they did in New York.
Yeah, right.
It leaves in an hour arbitrarily.
Yeah. So yeah, they're on the tarmac. They're in France.
Yeah.
That French police walks up to them, and she's like,
If I give an order, you obey the order.
And he's like, yes, ma'am. And then just the biggest eye roll. And it's like, America.
Yeah. You Americans.
World.
Right. So,
yeah.
So with that, I think we should roll into The Hunt for Red October. We're going to just play the trailer real quick. And then Sanya is going to lead us into this amazing sub-film. You'll never fucking guess what. This is from HD Retro. This is from HD Retro Trailers as well. The same ones who brought us the incredibly sharp Meteor one. Whew. And we're fucking ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
The most brilliant commander in the Soviet Navy.
Ramius trained most of their officer corps. He's nearly a legend in the submarine community.
The most deadly submarine ever built.
This thing could park a couple of hundred warheads off Washington. Nobody'd know a thing about it until it was all over.
And once more, we play our dangerous game without all the
Submarines are cool.
in the American Navy.
His plan is a mystery.
A man with your responsibilities reading about the end of the world.
Apparently, he suffered a kind of nervous breakdown in which he announced his intention to fire his missiles on the United States.
We want us to help you hunt him down, kill him.
Open the outer doors, firing point procedures.
We sail into history.
I'm going to blow him right to Mars.
Ramius might be trying to defect.
Richard Benjamin.
You're just an analyst. What can you possibly know what goes on in this mine?
I'll give you 3 days to prove your theory correct.
I am not field personnel. I am only an analyst.
You're perfect.
I'm expendable.
He's defecting. You willing to bet your life on that?
From the best-selling novel by Tom Clancy. From the director of Die Hard.
Give this man a chance.
My orders are specific. Battle stations.
Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, James Earl Jones, Scott Glenn, Sam Neill. The Hunt for Red October.
That's actually a really good trailer, I think.
That's fucking really cool.
That's a really good trailer.
It's really good, actually. Also, like the little graphics they did at the end with the sonar sweep beam turning into the hammer and sickle.
Yeah.
It's also really convenient because basically it saves us from having to sum up the film.
Yeah.
Pretty much the trailer is just take the whatever the hell is a spoiler. The trailer has just given us all except the ending.
Yeah, it's like I think this HD retro trailers person or team is/are devoted to spoiling every film, while also making incredibly sharp and cool trailers. That looked fucking badass. Yeah, I loved the graphics. I loved like the hammer and sickle. That was really cool. I don't actually love the hammer and sickle because I'm a good son of the West. But it was
I am constitutionally obliged to have opinions on that as well, but it was a nice visual to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excited about talking about this podcast on my next DV interview.
But Mike, you can go and tell the Prime Minister about the podcast.
Yeah.
Good segue into a weird thing from my life. Yeah.
Woo!
I would like to be able to tell you more about that, but I actually don't know any more about that. So for context, last week I got a message from my boss saying, "You've got about 5 minutes to answer this question. Can you go to Downing Street in 3 weeks?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I can. Like, why?" And I think it's off the back of the recent Strategic Defence Review that just came out. This is boring, but the Strategic Defence Review that just came out, which highlighted, and it's related to this podcast actually. There's two big priorities in the maritime domain for the British government going forward in terms of defence. One is the AUKUS project and building a shit ton of new submarines. And the other big bit is maritime autonomy. And without getting into too much detail, I work in maritime autonomy. So I think I'm going on to do something with that. And I thought, because I was looking at Instagram, during the week of the Strategic Defence Review coming out, there was a lot of stuff like various submariners at Downing Street doing these little kind of fluffy PR-y type things. So I thought, all right, okay, maybe I'm going down to do some kind of like handshaky PR-y type thing. But I've not had any answer on it yet. And then, not long after that chat with my boss, he also sent me a draft of a citation he wrote, which reads like I'm getting some kind of award. Also, haven't got a clue. generally, I don't even know what. So I was going to put my uniform in to get a medal sewn on last week, and I just didn't get around to it. But I haven't been told what uniform I need to have for this thing anyway. So I'm like, well, there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be number ones. It could be number threes. Could be number threes, number ones with a short sleeve shirt. So actually, statistically, I'm probably more likely to get away with not doing it. But yeah, and then just to make it matters worse, tomorrow I go to sea for 2 weeks. So I haven't got a clue. So so I might be going to Downing Street. I might be meeting a member of government. I don't know who and at what level, and I might be talking about my work or shaking someone's hand. I've got no idea. I'd like to think that if I was delivering a proper product to a serious person about a serious subject, they would have clued me in a little bit sooner, and maybe I'd have a fighting chance of preparing for it. But instead, I'm going to go to sea for the next 2 weeks and work like 20-hour days. So,
you're just going to walk in very, very fucking tired, and you're going to see the Royal Navy's like allowance of coffee be instantly increased because of us.
Yeah,
like, we've changed the budget, boys. Every vessel gets like a fucking 7 or 8 just slabs of Monster Energy to keep them going.
just standing in the PM's office, like munching dry coffee beans.
Could you imagine I was standing in the PM? If I get to the point where I'm standing in the PM's office, what's actually happening is I'm being set up as a fall guy for someone else's crime. Like that's the only reason I'd be in that building.
What's happening is you're going to be asked to root out a Russian spy in Whitehall known as Yuri.
Oh.
But of course, you are the real Yuri, and you're wearing your yellow cummerbund.
Yeah. Oh my god!
They would thought about any fucking callbacks. Just like 3 episodes in, this is.
Yeah, we've developed some pretty intricate pod lore already.
Get some really fucking autistic fans, dude. We need to find out what people as far as this goes.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm doing in a couple of weeks. But back to the movie.
Right. Okay. So yeah, this film is Sanya's pick. So Sanya, speak to us of your love of The Hunt for Red October.
Well, I think my love for The Hunt for Red October sort of ties into my previously mentioned autism diagnosis issued by my commanding officer. I've had an obsession with the Navy for a very long time, even before I joined the Navy myself. And the Hunt for Red October, well, really fits into it, smack on in the middle. Originally, I read the book a long time before I've seen the film, and there's so much more going on in the book as well that has been cut out of the film just because it would probably be 5 hours long and had consumed an annual defense budget for a medium-sized country. But it's great. It's an all-time classic if you like or really despise submarines, depending on your perspective. Personally, I'm hell bent of getting rid of the damn things.
Whoa, coming in hot.
So is this the start of Sanya's ASW arc when you get yourself fucking Ober Commandant of the fucking depth charges or whatever? He's on a one-man mission to rid the world of submersible devices and craft.
Refloating tin cans not allowed anywhere near me.
Spicy podcast this afternoon, boys.
Professional violence. Yeah, so it is still a classic. It has in terms of what we've been getting in terms of military movies and submarine movies in particular, has aged pretty well, actually. I think it's 35 years now since that movie came out, and it still holds up pretty well to any sort of criticism. It still hasn't lost any of the sort of fascination the genre has on anyone from little boys to slightly autistic, fully grown men,
slightly,
or women, slightly, or even more. So it's really a great story. We've had the trailer on earlier, and it summed up the plot fairly well. There's just a whole lot of just ongoing tension throughout the film that's built off the audience knowing more than everyone who's a character in the film itself. You get thrown in. I think the book offers a bit more context for the overall situation, but you still have several plots unfolding at the same time. And you get just thrown into a Russian submarine just at the start of the film without really knowing what's going on, and just suddenly confronted with a incredibly Scottish sounding Russian submarine captain that is just about to leave his harbor and going to do things, and you don't really know where it's going from there.
And he just is so fucking Scottish. He doesn't give a shit. I know, like, it's a joke everyone makes and stuff, but I love how he just doesn't do anything to hide his Scottish accent at all. I mean, not just in Hunt for October, when he's playing. It's like, imagine when he was cast for Highlander, Sean Connery, and they're like, "You're playing a character called Ramirez, okay? he's immortal, okay? He's got lots of time to practice his golf then." And then they're like, he uses a fucking katana because he's an edgelord. The Japanese have lots of golf courses. I love golf. And then he's like, and by the way, Ramirez is also a fucking ancient Egyptian. That's canon. Ramirez, with a Spanish name, is an ancient fucking Egyptian. And Sean Connery's like, and somehow he has a Scottish accent. And he's fucking sharing the screen. Sharing the fucking screen.
Away with it.
Sharing the fucking screen with Christopher Lambert playing a Scotsman without a Scottish accent. It's just me, Conor McLeod of the Clan McLeod, live, huh?
A classic bit.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, and you could, if you were being reductive, you could say that Sean Connery clearly doesn't give a fuck. But that's not true. Like, he does care. He just cares about the stuff that he wants to care about. And changing his accent is not one of the things that ever he wants to care about.
Sean Connery has his, I'm going to say it, boys, special interests. We all know what that means.
Special interests.
I think there's some kind of neurodivergence going on with Sean Connery. I think, Sanya, you need to get this army officer to watch some Connery films and do some diagnosis. They can start with Meteor and how Sean Connery clearly just wore his own fucking clothes for the whole film, despite the plotline of his wife putting his clothes up for him. It's crazy, man. It's fucking up there with like Steven Seagal appearing to like use the same cult 1911 and like fucking loads of the late era money laundering films. You know, the ones that he films in Eastern Europe and just to use to launder money for sketchy organisations and stuff. You'll notice that like Steven Seagal's just started using the same old Colt 1911 that I think's probably his personal sidearm. And the really funny thing is, he still blinks when he shoots it. Tangent over. See it? I see the flaw. I see the flaw. Back to the German.
Right. So essentially, to deepen the summary, we've already had there's two main characters throughout the film. One is obviously Jack Ryan as the CIA analyst doing his thing and trying to piece together the loose basket of information that is handed to him by his superiors who don't like to let him talk and word his actual ideas. And the other is a Soviet submarine captain, who is the first person we see at the start of the film. Who's named Marko Ramius, and who's been given command of the submarine, a Typhoon class submarine called Red October. Rory, I think, has some opinions on the Cyrillic spelling of Krasny Oktyabr on the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, so this got me like pausing it and like going letter by letter and just being mad in the presence of my wife, who is a real trooper for putting up with this. So with the film's opening credits, you see what the film wants you to think is the Cyrillic text that says Krasny Oktyabr. And it gets the letters for Krasny right. It gets them fucking correct. And then for some reason for Oktyabr, it doesn't. So it's OKT. Then it's like a Roman letter I, and the like Roman letter I isn't in the Cyrillic alphabet. There's the A. There's a capital B, which you know in Cyrillic's a V sound, and then there's like a standard Roman letter R that's facing the correct way, not the ya way in like Cyrillic for Russian. So it would be kind of, I think, probably not like probably showing my whole ass here because I'm not especially a Russian speaker. I only know a small fucking amount of it. But if someone who like understood Russian was looking at this, they'd understand Krasny, and then they'd see what kind of looks like octave spelt fucking wrong and with a random fucking foreign letter in the middle of it. So it's like, I mean, red octave does sound fucking Krasnia Octavia does sound pretty fucking cool in a kind of this is a spy cell inside an orchestra kind of way. It also sounds like Moscow police are calling in a description of Red Skoda they're chasing. Hey, that was much funnier in my head. But yeah, that got me said, that so yeah, so that got me spurging out and pissed off. And I'm pausing it and I'm like, look, Emma, and I'm like fucking just essentially with my finger and I kind of follow the bouncing ball kind of way. I'm like, Krasny, and they go, what's this shit? Yeah. So the film was garbage and I stopped watching it, and then I sent some hate mail to the estate of St. Thomas of Clancy. No, I didn't. I watched this film the whole way through because it's fucking awesome. So, yeah, Spurg out completed. You see the flaw.
Excellent. So yes, we've got Jack Ryan as the CIA analyst and Marko Ramius as the commanding officer of the most relevant title-giving submarine in the film, who's been given command of this apparently new submarine, which is a Typhoon-class ballistic missile submarine, which for those of us who don't suffer with partially diagnosed autism, is a Russian or Soviet type of submarine capable of carrying intercontinental ballistic missiles It has nuclear propulsion and is roughly the size of a submersible frigate. So these things are truly humongous in terms of submarine. It's a floating city block that is capable of, well, turning North America into glass, essentially. And in this case, the relevance for the film is that this new submarine has been equipped with something called a caterpillar drive, which is basically a sort of water jet propulsion that would enable that submarine to travel very quietly and render it undetectable to regular sonar surveillance conducted by the Americans during the Cold War. So it would not be detected, say, by the SOSUS barrier in the North Atlantic, which obviously would make such a submarine a viable threat for the United States Navy. That is one of the relevant submarines. The two main characters of the film, and as the antagonist, and here's where the slimming down from the books starts. We have this mentioned in the film that basically the whole Soviet Navy gets mobilized within days. In the book, you get carrier battle groups and whatnot going on, and what we're showing throughout the film is essentially one Tupolev Bear bomber and one Alpha class nuclear submarine, which is the main antagonist during the finale of the film, and is commanded by one of Ramius's former students. Once again, for those unaware of the specifics of Soviet submarines, Alpha class submarines were once the fastest submarines in the world. If I'm not mistaken, those are the ones that have been built using titanium for the entire hull and had a very weird cooling system in the reactor that was, I think, liquid lead, which had the issue that any sort of reactor maintenance required the cooling system to be kept warm using steam from outside the submarine. So those liquid metal cooled nuclear reactor led basically to those boats being withdrawn from service actually one by one, because they kept deliquefying the coolant, and then you could just scrap the entire thing. But as an offensive weapon, those have been very, very potent. And very, very fast. And that's the main antagonist for our rather cumbersome and giant floating city block that is trying to sneak through the North Atlantic undetected. And the main issue with the plot is that Ramius is trying to defect because he's got personal issues with the way the Soviet Union works due to the death of his own wife. And he does really not like the way this new submarine is set up as a potential first strike weapon. And so he decides to defect together with all his senior officers to the United States and hand over the submarine, and just disappears during what is supposed to be the new submarine's first test patrol into the North Atlantic. And the Soviets only find this out because he sends a very angry goodbye letter to the admiral in charge. And it's amazing. It's a great scene in the film as well, met by half a minute of people saying good morning to the admiral and him just being, yes, leave me alone. And then him basically going half into cardiac arrest and spilling his tea. Also a repeating plot point throughout the film, actually. Yes, and so basically the Soviets know that Ramius wants to defect and the Americans don't. And that turns out to be the main issue of Ramius's actions, because he's being hunted by the Soviets, who, after the Americans obviously noticed the entire mobilization of their fleet for either all-out war or a giant exercise. So the Soviets tell them that Ramius has gone mad and intends to launch his missiles on the United States. So they try to draw the Americans into the hunt for Red October to make them possibly destroy the sub if they can't get it, so that Ramius has zero chance to actually go through with his plans and defect. And throughout the film, it's an ongoing issue that Jack Ryan, who has met Ramius passingly for 5 minutes some time ago, he's the only one who actually believes that Ramius might be trying to defect, and he keeps meeting resistance every time he brings forth that idea, which we all know to be true, but none of his superiors have reason to actually believe that. And that is basically the moving force behind everything that happens throughout the film, from once again people spilling their tea and political officers called Putin having their necks broken, to admirals going into cardiac arrest, to Jack Ryan, who really should have written a memo, jumping out of a helicopter into the freezing Atlantic to be picked up by a Los Angeles class submarine and ending up in a deep sea rescue vehicle to board a nuclear submarine that is Russian.
Hell yeah. What a fucking film, man. I love how especially in the book, which I've read some of in the run up to this, I didn't have time to read the whole thing because Tom Clancy writes absolute fucking Bibles. But I really love the kind of fuck you letter that Ramius sends to the Admiral, that has on the second, on like the second side, the obverse side of the letter, P.S. This is not a joke. It's absolute fucking ladsmanship. I really love it. I liked how the letter opener the Admiral's using looks like a ground down saber or shashka of some kind. Because obviously the book says that it's his issue knife from World War II that he broke when he stuck it in a fascist's chest and killed him, and he had it ground down to be his letter opener. So that's a kind of, I don't know, man. I'm that fucking guy when it comes to weapons in films, man. I'm surprised it hasn't come out so much already, but then again, the first two films I've watched haven't been especially gunny. So,
Speaking of bringing up the books, that's something that's come to my mind. The one ping only is probably the most famous quote from the film, and it stems from a scene where, in the film at least, the American sub has been following Red October secretly for quite a while, and they've been shadowing him. And it's just after they've pulled Jack Ryan out of the freezing North Atlantic, and he amazingly does not go into hypothermia, die, and drown. And after that, Ryan convinces the commanding officer of the US submarine to try and contact Ramius. So they hit full reverse, make a lot of noise, and go to periscope depth, so that the Russians definitely notice that there's a submarine behind them. And submariners being submariners and having to just know what's happening around them, the Russians also go to periscope depth. And on the assumption that Ramius is going to be the one on the periscope, they send him a message via Morse code, which then leads to Ramius giving the order one ping only as a reply to the original signal. And in the book, that whole scene is way more complex in its layout, because here in the book, the people contacting Red October are from a Royal Navy aircraft carrier task force. So they get the position from the submarine shadowing Red October. But for Ramius, he thinks he's secretly snuck into a Royal Navy anti-submarine warfare exercise. And the book features like a page of him making snarky comments about the name of HMS Invincible to the crew in the ops room, and going on about Western arrogance, which is immediately shut up by him being absolutely fucking blinded by signal lights from the carrier's bridge wing, which is way funnier and involves way more action and seems to me more realistic than two submarines going to periscope depth to have looks at each other's periscope. Because I can get my mind more behind a submariner going to periscope depth to have a good look at a potential surface threat. That also makes, in terms of tactics, way more sense to me, and seems more likely than doing that to maybe see a periscope or not.
I fucking wish I'd got up to that part in the book, but I have not got up to it yet.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
I've not read that bit yet. That sounds class.
Oh yeah, that's class.
Earlier on, when you were giving the initial sort of talk about the movie, and we talk about how well it's aged because it's been about 35 years, I was just going to say that it really does look really, really good for its age. There's a handful of things that I think are behind that, and one is clearly they've actually used some, like the stuff on the water looks legit, so it isn't like full of CG. There's probably some CG there, but it's mainly like either miniature work for the underwater stuff, and there's some really good shots of like establishing shots from vessels that are actually in the water, in the sea somewhere, which is really, really good. It hasn't that thing that you normally see. You see it in a lot of like old wartime movies and stuff, of like really tight, close-in shots of people stood on conning towers where there's no context of what's around them because obviously they've just used a little set. Like you can see they're on a boat and it's going on the surface, and that's class. That's really good. And they do the same thing later on in the movie, where the Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate is there as well, and they actually got a proper one, USS Gary, to like steam around. That's class. So it's always good when you see actual warships in a movie like this that are also like time appropriate as well. So it's a serving ship from the time, which is good. So that's really cool. And the third thing I would talk about is there's a really subtle bit of visual language they do, because there's a lot of bits in this movie where they cut between various submarines. Obviously, all the submarines are all interior cramped sets. How do you tell if you're cutting between one submarine to another submarine? How do you, apart from like the characters, if you're tracking the characters, obviously is one thing, but how do you track that you're in a different location, cutting between them? And what Jan de Bont did, Jan de Bont being the DP on this, had a slightly different color scheme for the lighting, really subtle. It's not obvious, but really subtle lighting color scheme changes between each of the submarines. So I think if I get this right, so the Red October is red. There's a lot of red lighting around there. The USS Dallas, I think, has got some blue lighting check, and then Tupolov's boat, which is named, I think, it's Kovalov or something. It's
the VK Konovalov.
That's it, yeah. So that has a slightly green tinge. The one with Stellan Skarsgård has a slightly green tinge to it when you're watching it. Not like in color grading, but just like use of actual lights. So that's pretty cool, and it's kind of forgivable as well. So one thing I always get annoyed at whenever you watch any military stuff, especially warship stuff in movies, is like the lighting in compartments is always fucking mental. Like for some reason there's a lot of red lighting going on when you wouldn't need to have red lighting necessarily for interior compartments. Like when you're in State 2 and that kind of stuff, you see that a lot in movies, a lot of like red lighting for no reason. You see a lot of really like weird dark blue ops rooms. I don't know if that's the case in US ships. It's more steely to be in the dark, but we don't really do that. So yeah.
In fairness, that's actually something I've seen people bring up, especially with the USS Dallas, where they go to action stations and then the CO says rig for red. And someone had a complaint about that because you only do that when you go to periscope depth, so you don't affect the night vision.
Yeah, precisely.
But generally, I think that's something. I don't know what your average ops room looks like. I've only been on a Type 23, looks ancient in parts.
Wow.
And well, they are old ships at this point. But
they are old. Yeah, they are.
The thing is, the darkness in ops rooms is a cliche that exists for a reason. Now we have modern computers, and we've got displays that we can see with the lights on. But if you're staring at an old tiny TV screen that's got a tiny faint glow, if you've got a sonar contact somewhere, you'd really need to shut the lights off to actually see something on the display.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I suppose if you're looking back on the past, so a radar system that's still in use, that's on a Type 23 frigate, as well as on other various, it's a navigation radar, 1007. That's an old feed. It's not an ARPA radar, so it isn't computer interpreted. It's a raw radar feed. And in daylight hours, you have to put like a little witch's hat over it, a little hood, where you can put your eyes over it, because obviously it's not bright enough. It can be obscured by daylight. And then when you darken ship at night, you can take it off because it's obviously dark outside. And the same thing with the ops room as well. So it has a little hood on it in the ops room. If you darken the ops room, you could take that off, I suppose. That's an old bit of kit. Yeah, you're right. And then a lot of other systems as well were really dimly lit. So another example would be on MCMV, the old Nautilus command system, again, had like proper 1980s VGA kind of type graphics for the main display, and then the little TDA totes underneath, which were touchscreen but rubbish. Again, we're just like black and orange, so like proper like old school. So yeah, you're right actually. Whereas nowadays, obviously everything's like Windows or better kind of.
Yeah, I did have a commanding officer who did not like the fact that we don't need to do that. He liked to play Dracula and gave us shit for having the lights on in the ops room.
So
it's like, okay, old man. The future is now, sir.
Yeah.
Blah! I want to darken your CIC.
Yeah, I've experienced something similar once under a trials piece of equipment where we were operating out of a shake-on, and my CO at the time wanted us to turn the lights off in the shake-on because it didn't look war-y enough inside the shake-on with the lights on. And I was like, yeah, but we're all huddled around like one laptop. So like, what's the point?
So we're not doing a remake of Dracula in here.
Yeah,
incredible.
It was just funny because we were in the obviously the blisteringly hot Middle East as well, and so you open the door and it's like bright. It's like walking out the cinema after watching a movie in the middle of the day. Fun times, but yeah, that's something I've always found annoying.
But I think that's actually something that also hugely plays into the entire aesthetic of the film.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of dark rooms with a bunch of differently colored flashing lights everywhere, which still, if you don't know what the inside of a warship actually looks like, seems like really still could be from the future.
I don't mind it.
It
has
movie,
actually.
It's got slight Star Trek vibes in places as well. So I'm not entirely sure what all the giant boards full of green and red and yellow glowing buttons are actually supposed to do.
The Red October's command center looks a bit like the Death Star if the Death Star was made by Klingons who were
It's like the ops room in Hoth when they're getting attacked.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right.
But right. So I've worked on some very old ships, and I've seen displays with a vast number of buttons like that before. And I guarantee you, some of those buttons will be like the test lamp switch. So you press that and all the lights come on. It's just stuff like that. It'll be really weird little things like certain comm circuits or that kind of thing.
I mean, have any of you seen images of the actual CIC or whatever it is of a Typhoon class boat? Because I googled, because I'm the guy who googles things clearly, because I don't have the actual knowledge and training that you have, and I've seen a few pictures of the inside of both a Typhoon class and an Akula class, like the VK Konovalov, and it just looks like the insides of like a nuclear power station's control room. It's all lots of like sliders and small TVs, and it's all very kind of cream coloured. It certainly doesn't look as fucking badass as Red October, which looks incredibly fucking alley. I think we all agree with that.
It looks like the control room of most submarines from the period. But the one thing that does speak to me is it looks like it doesn't look too different from stuff that we have, in the sense that it's that kind of light teal coloured painted sets for all the gear. There's what looks like the Russian equivalent of a rice set here for like rationalized internalized comms. It's just stuff like that.
I take it you're looking at some images now that you've googled up.
I have, yeah.
Speaking of, you just called the Alpha Nacula. So that's another fun autism thing. So technically, if we go by that, both submarines would be Aculas. Because Aquila was partly the NATO reporting name for the Alpha, but it's actually the denomination the typhoons have been given to by the Russians.
That's right. I fucked up.
Gotcha, bitch.
So you're off the podcast.
I'm off the fucking pod. I'm done.
Banish him. Guards, seize him.
Shame. I'm hanging up my autism card now.
Yes, give it back. You can no longer show up to crime scenes and flash your autism badge to get in.
Jawohl, Herr Kalai. Yeah.
Now, obviously, the film features some modifications to, or just speculation at that point, to the insides of the submarines involved, and some choices are fairly obviously just for the aesthetics. It's like this film is based on a book written by someone who got into trouble with the CIA. He was able to guess the internal layout of recently commissioned warships without actually having been onto them, because this man has apparently also had a severe case of navalized autism, I suppose. He just looked at the outside of warships and was like, this is what it has to look from the inside because it's the only thing that makes sense to me. And then he somehow was right. I think the most prominent choice in design for just cinematic value is the scene nearing the end of the film where Ryan enters the shootout with the totally normal Russian cook in the supposed missile room of the submarine, where you have this sort of this is given slight Warhammer vibes, where the submarine just turns into sort of cathedral for nuclear holocaust, where he's walking through this just series of giant pylons filled with intercontinental ballistic missiles. On a real submarine, those would not be visible to the crew because the tubes would not be part of the pressure hull. So it is a great shot and it looks amazing and it adds to the intensity of the scene, but it's very obviously a cinematic choice.
Yeah, man. I don't think the movie would be as dramatic if they hinged too closely to reality, because inside submarines are pretty boring to look at.
Yeah, it's not nice. We've actually got a Russian submarine here as a museum. It's I think one of the last diesel-powered Soviet submarines built. It was actually part of the Russian reserve until the early 2000s and somehow ended up here as a museum. And it's just horrible to be in.
Yeah.
It's like you get in there and you start at the bow and you just get out again at the stern, and it just keeps getting narrower and tighter in there. You start in the torpedo room, which obviously without the torpedoes in it is fairly spacious, right to the moment where you remember that people would have slept in there together with at least a dozen live torpedoes, which would have taken up all the free space in there. And then you just start walking through the submarine, and you can start like walking somewhat upright, right to the point where you hit the officers' mess. And after that, you basically have to get shorter and smaller. So it still features the political officer's cabin and a cell. If someone said a no word about the Soviet Union, you can still throw them in the brig in there.
Incredible.
But like the enlisted mess is it's for me it's like chest height. So these
You are a fucking giant though, Sanya.
You're just short. I am not that humongous.
Dog, I'm 5'7". I'm the fucking golden height. You people are just built inefficiently.
Listen, supervision is my job.
Oh,
but yeah, it is horrible in there. I've never felt so uncomfortable on a ship before. I was just really glad to get out of there. And I think in comparison, the Typhoon are just luxury. Those were actually large enough to have like a sauna and a swimming pool on board for their crew.
That is wild. When I was watching the film with Emma, I did like a little bit of Google as to what the command centers and stuff really looked like, and it came across like a picture of the sonar. It's like, holy fucking shit, man. There must have been like the really kind of dream vessel to get posted onto, I imagine. Pretty cool. Like, you've got your gym, you've got your swimming pool, you've got your fucking sauna. I mean, I don't know how many of the enlisted would have been allowed to use them, but still, it is kind of boss. Speaking about the crampedness of Soviet submarines and stuff, especially the diesel boats that you mentioned, I like in the book how it gives insight into just how fucking weird Marko Ramius is. That like when it talks about how he graduated from the academy and he got into submarines, and it's like there were horrible stinking things with the crew using the bilges as toilets, and he thought they were beautiful and wanted to make a career as a submariner. It's like, dude, you're fucking bored, man.
This man is a freak.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it is the epitome of it, of the whole man, it must smell crazy in there. And he's like, yes, it stinks of shit. I love it. It's cramped. It smells of shit. There's no room to play golf. That's the only bad bit.
Yeah, you've got your nuclear watchkeeping marine engineers doing 12-hour shifts on the back end, shitting into bin bags, and yeah, man, that sounds like the fucking life for me. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like zero sun on your face. The men use every inch of the vessel as a toilet, and you're watched all the time by a political officer who could send you to gulag for not saying the right things. Fucking awesome, amazing, cool. Love every bit of it. It is, of course, very nice to see the political officer get fucking beaten to death. I'm going to go out there and say we need more films when people call Putin get beaten to fucking death, and eventually a real world scenario in which all this manifestation leads to a certain Vladimir Vladimirovich getting fucking beaten to death in his office and slipping on tea.
I'd like to think that we're watching this movie and it's manifesting as we speak.
The submarine is just watching the spires. They are beautiful.
Oh my god. Yeah, just like the alternate ending when Red October does like actually get like arrested by the US Navy publicly, and he's like, I just wanted to see this particular inlet. I'm a tourist. We're all tourists. Red October's a civilian boat. Pay no attention to the nuclear weapons. My Sean Connery impression's getting fucking worse as the day goes on, by the way.
It's going to be great. By the time the podcast's finished, we are all going to be talking like this.
We'll all be talking like there's a fucking carbon monoxide leak. And
the beeping is annoying. I'm going to turn it off and have a little nap.
Proceeding with our recollections of the film, then. Of course, then we go to the scene when the Americans and the Russians are face to face when they've faked the radiation incident, and then there's when they board the Red October with that DSRV, and you get the Russians and the Americans coming face to face together, and it's very much an East meets West kind of scene. It's pretty much the fucking epitome of like East meets West scenes in like thrillers from the 80s and 90s, I think, because it shows you know, like you've got this massive difference between the bridge crew of Red October, who are in, I don't know if it's the number ones or anything, it's certainly a very formal dressy uniform compared to what the crew of the Dallas are wearing, for instance.
Yeah, they're wearing like their tan gear, aren't they?
Yeah.
Apart from, what's Jack Ryan wearing?
He's wearing a navy uniform. I don't know if it's number one.
He's wearing his. Yeah,
I think
he's wearing Nos ones.
Yeah, Nos ones without his tie. He just looks like an accident in uniform at this point.
It looks like someone got
I guess
just by a fire alarm while getting dressed.
Yeah, I think that might just happen if you yeet yourself out of a helicopter, though.
I am sure he does have a tie on at one point when he's in his meeting in the Admiral's stateroom. Yeah,
that's right. When he arrives on the carrier, he's fully dressed because he apologizes for being rigged for physical. He's obviously not a commander.
Yeah.
He's just there to fit in, and it was Admiral Gray's idea, which I find that difficult to believe. But smart civilian attire would have been fine.
Business casual.
You think Ryan wanted to show up as a commander?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
He does not. He does not look comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a Marine.
And he looks really young.
He looks
He
very
wasn't.
young.
Yeah, he was a Marine.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
like they make a big deal of him being a Marine and injuring his back in a helicopter crash. Just to reiterate, in the TV series as well, he's also a Marine, and he was injured in a helicopter fashion, but it wasn't just an accidental crash because the Jim from The Office one isn't a pussy. He's the fucking pussy who gets injured in helicopter crashes. Yeah. I would tell you how he actually gets his back injury because I've watched all the seasons and you haven't. So, but yeah, but it is like a really great like East meets West kind of scene, and there's that little icebreaker when the engineer offers him what we all fucking know is going to be a horribly powerful, unfiltered Soviet cigarette that just makes him quite ill, and it's a very nice little ice-breaking scene, I think, before the
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And they're speaking in Russian to each other, and then they speak in English to each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, oh, you buckaroo, because he says Bot Mancuso's fucking sidearm. It's wild to me that they've still got like the fucking World War II era leather pistols for the sidearms with like the US stamp on them as well, but it is the 80s, and I imagine like the Navy's are probably like the last people to get updates to the small arms,
You guys are getting small arms?
I'm 5'7", man. My arms are fucking small.
Oh man, I used to make that joke all the time when I was officer day on a MCMV, and you have to do like a small arms muster, and I just look down at myself and go, 1, 2, there we are, small arms muster complete.
Of course, then this is when I think Sanya was saying that things deviate a bit from the book in that the submarine's XO gets shot by the kook, the fucking stooge, the infiltrator, the guy who serves Moscow above all, shoots the XO and he dies. But Asania was saying it's not quite the outcome for him in the actual book, is it?
I think if I remember this correctly, he does not die. I think he just gets injured, and in the film he just dies, and his last words are, "I just wanted to see Montana," which is quite sad. It's like it's something that's brought up. Like him and Ramius have a conversation earlier in the film what they want from their defection, and he's just a down to earth guy that just wants to be able to move freely, have a recreational vehicle, and do normal things instead of living in a suppressive authoritarian regime. And then he just gets shot like at the point where the Americans are already inside his boat, and then he just dies.
Copland Borden, you would have loved Bruce Springsteen.
He fucking would have loved Bruce Springsteen. Actually, he would have like worn like double denim. He would have been proper yeehaw. He would have like owned like a Winchester rifle, and
you would have appreciated Bruce Springsteen's cynical views on the multi-industrial complex.
He would have definitely, and he absolutely in his later years would have watched Yellowstone. He would have beasted Yellowstone.
Oh yeah.
But it's kind of sad as well because like looking at it from kind of like the motivations of the two characters, with Ramius's whole motivation being that his wife's died, and more so in the book it's explained that she's died essentially because of the kind of communist regime, and the fact that certain elites get away with things, and the fact that she was sent for treatment at a hospital that's used by the party elites, and the surgeon who operated on her was drunk and he fucking killed her, and he got away with it because he was the son or nephew or whatever of or fucking catamite or whatever of someone in the party on the committee or whatever. And then you see this really kind of sad end for Borodin, who, because he's a single man, because all of the guys on the crew, that all of the officers, Ramius puts together a single man. That's like the main thing he does to ensure that there's like nothing behind. There's no one they're leaving behind to get sent to the gulags or whatever. And just he wants what Ramius had, man. I mean, more specifics, he wants like a round American wife who's going to cook rabbits for him, maybe an additional wife in another state, which is a little bit of bigamy as a treat. But I mean, this guy doesn't know how American laws
is
work
the
with
land
marriage.
of the free after
Yeah,
all.
maybe he said Montana, but really he meant Utah.
Emma said the exact same thing. She was like, "These guys would have loved Mormonism." Like, it's like, I mean, oh Jesus fucking Christ, yeah. This Joseph Smith, he's got some good ideas about the family. Oh fucking hell. So yeah, I am pleased that in the book he doesn't get iced, because it does seem like a little bit of a shit end for the guy. I mean, I understand it's good in the film, but it's a bit of a shit end for the guy, because I was rooting for him. I was rooting for all of these guys, Yeah.
It does feel it is weird, isn't it? Because the conflict in the movie isn't between our two leads; it's actually between our two leads and each of their governments.
Yeah.
Because Baldwin's facing resistance the entire way from the CIA. Well, not so much the CIA, but like the rest of the US sort of intelligence community.
Yeah.
And military. They're all kind of dubious of his mission. He's a bit like Ethan Hunt in a Mission Impossible movie here, where like everyone's kind of against him.
Yeah.
He's that's a bad example, but yeah. And then and then Ramius is obviously like defecting.
Yeah.
So he's only really against the loyalists amongst his own crew, which he's obviously trying to get away from. Hence why he gets rid of all the enlisted. And then obviously the rest of the Soviet structure. So the real tension, I suppose, in the movie. This is actually really cool, because the real tension in the movie is, will there be a miscalculation between the US and Ramius? And obviously, if there's Americans on board the October, and then October's being attacked by the rest of the Russians, are we steering uncontrollably into a third world war kind of situation again, based around miscalculation? Which is really cool. It's a really cool conceit for a movie. What makes it a really compelling story. It's not just a standard kind of like two guys don't like each other, butt heads kind of thing.
And you even get like this kind of like three-way conflict between the Red October, the Dallas, and the Konovalov as well, like in like the closing kind of beats of the film and stuff. And I think that's really cool as well, how it isn't like it doesn't just come down to two guys facing off kind of thing. It shows that there's much bigger things at work, and there's just so much fucking stuff that can go wrong. It's something I think Tom Clancy does really well with his novels, how like he just pulls together these 1 million strands of like complex like threads together into something that's about 1,500 pages long. And I mean, you read a few and you start to become a middle-aged dad, but yeah.
We could put so much detail in there as well. So like the OHP frigate that just shows up for like 2 minutes in the film gets its own sideline in the book, because the commanding officer got this whole thing of that ship being described as the newest state-of-the-art weapon system to hunt submarines. And there's like a bit where you've got the commanding officer trying to figure out his new ship, and he's going on sprinting around the North Atlantic to get to places, and then just drifting around with his stout array to try and maybe find a submarine. And all that sort of thing is in there. And also the showdown at the end between Red October and the other and the Alpha submarine happens, I think, at the end later, after they've already taken the crew off and had moved Red October into some inlet, or rather to hide her from satellites. And then the Konovalov only shows up after they've started to move Red October again. And during that fight, Red October actually takes a torpedo hit.
Right.
And I think ends up ramming or something the other submarine. Which is something that really only works with a Typhoon submarine. those things have 2 pressure hulls and are just stuffed full of batteries. So they've essentially got a layer of armor around their internal pressure hull. So it's actually feasible that might work, and that a Typhoon might survive a single torpedo hit. But once again, that's so specific that it only works with that class of submarine. So once again, there's a huge amount of nerdiness and detail in there that you can draw out of the books if you've got no idea. But if you've got no idea, it's just, how does this guy know that? And it's not surprising that he got an angry letter from the CIA wanting to know what the hell he's doing.
It's amazing, man. For a start, also, so I love so it sounds to me like Tupolev kind of pursues him all the way into American kind of inland waters, which is very Tupolev coded. I can imagine Stellan Skarsgård doing that completely while chain smoking like 3 or 4 cigarettes at a time. And I love that the Red October fucking rams him. That's like based.
Yeah, I think that there's even I am now, as we speak, remembering things from the book, and there's even another layer where they end up scuttling an old American submarine and take a Russian diplomat or something down there in a rescue sub to show him the wreckage and present that to him as the wreck of the Red October, and as proof they take a few things that they've screwed out of the original Red October that have a serial number that matches all the ship's components on it. So it's like, this is for depth measuring or whatever, and it's got the Red October serial number on it. So that's actually the wreck we showed you, despite the Red October actually still currently being taken apart by the CIA, and we've actually shown you an entirely different.
That's cool.
Fucking amazing.
Like that. Good little bit of Rudiger Minecraft.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to finish it because it does go hard. It's pretty cool. People do say that his earlier work was the best, don't they? They say that people say, and I don't know if I fully agree with it, that the further his books strayed from naval intelligence, the worse they got. I don't think I fully agree with that, because some of the ones, like, I mean, Red Storm Rising fucking ruled. Debt of Honor was apeshit, but I think Debt of Honor was the point when they could no longer make Clancy films about the Pacific books, because I just don't think they could have got away with the book that ends with the Japanese airline pilot flying his airliner into the Capitol building. I don't think they could have got away with that. I mean, they squeaked the Sum of All Fears out.
Oh, that'd be good. I'm looking forward to doing the Sum of All Fears, because there's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
There.
I mean,
it's extremely post 9/11 movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with Sum of All Fears. Did anyone see the Shadow Recruit film, the one with Chris Pine in it?
So I watched it when it came out on a plane. I've been setting it up to watch again, but I'm glad you mentioned it, because that's got Kevin Costner in as well, who we love, and got some stuff to talk about when we talk about the casting of this movie. But I did watch that. It also has Keira Knightley in it as Kathy Mueller, who becomes Kathy Ryan in the films. But she's British, doing a weird American accent. And in this, we have Gates McFadden doing a weird British accent.
Yeah. And the character's not called Kathy either.
Is she not?
No, they don't call her Kathy in the film. It's wild to call her something else that begins with a C. And it's like, why? This is like the whole Bruce Banner being called David Banner in the TV series thing. It's like, why? Why did you change that? Why? A quick aside, my mum tells this quote-unquote cute story at family functions that when I was a child and I was learning to read with the Spot the Dog books, there was this like book when Spot the Dog loses his beach ball, and it's got multicolours on it and stuff. And on the last page, she gets his ball back, but I just started screaming and crying because the colours were out of sequence and it's not his ball. And now I want a podcast about thriller films and defence matters. This is my autism document. Who the fuck am I? I forgot his ball back.
Incredible. So, should we wrap up the movie?
I'm trying to wrap my head around what we've left out. Right, we've got the one ping only scene. We've got the transfer of Jack Ryan via helicopter to the American submarine. We've had the reactor incident or the fake reactor incident that leads to Ramius being able to get his crew off the submarine, which are then picked up by the American frigate. And at that point, Ryan and the CEO of USS Dallas and I think it's Jonesy, the sonar operator, and another guy, get into the deep sea rescue vehicle to transfer to Red October. And it's at that point that the Alpha class submarine, commanded by Ramius' former student, shows up. And they have this really intense moment where they're trying to figure out where is that other torpedo noise coming from, what's that submarine, who's that submarine, what is it doing, and now we've got the east meets west link up of exchanging potentially hazardous cigarettes, broken up by the sudden need of two groups of people who don't really speak each other's language having to man an ops room together, to fight Red October against the other submarine. And during that scene, Ryan ends up having to essentially drive the ship despite having no idea what he's supposed to be doing. So, and Ramius keeps asking, "Who the hell are you and what do you do?" And Ryan's just said there like, "I write books and I've got no idea what I'm doing here." And they outmaneuver one of the torpedoes by taking advantage of its safety distance that is required for a launched torpedo before it can arm itself and just turn into its path and ram it, which based, to be honest, and also
based.
actually feasible if you think of that in the moment. And that whole intensity of that scene gets interrupted by the gunfire of a cook left behind who's been doing little acts of sabotage throughout the entire course of the film. He's been sabotaging the silent drive of the Red October, which has actually led to its detection by the earlier mentioned Russian aircraft. And he apparently managed to stay behind secretly and just peppers the room with gunfire before running off to use one of the ship's missiles to blow up the submarine. Which, in fairness, is a weird choice because if you're that suicidal, you could just blow up the missiles without drawing attention to you by starting a gunfight previously. But that then leads to that scene where Ryan is going essentially stealth ape mode in the missile room and crawling around the ceiling with a gun in his hand. Ends up shooting the cook to save the submarine, while Ramius is now injured and his first officer is now dead. And after that, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't think there's another intermission before we get to the final scene of on the submarine is them standing atop the bridge of Red October on the submarine sail outside, while sailing into some inlet on a river in the US. And I think they talk about fishing,
which is such a dad-coded conversation. Again, happy Father's Day to all the dads, cat dads, etc. out there. It was such a dad-coded conversation. Do you fish? Yeah. Oh wow, me too. Do we just become fucking best friends? Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, maybe we could go fishing sometime.
We have missed the bit when the VK Konovalov sinks itself
Shoots itself.
because
Right,
it,
I forgot
yeah.
the main.
You've killed us all.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you arrogant
us!
ass.
Yeah, I love that.
Right, that's in the extremely Russian moment in that film is Tupolev telling everyone to constantly go beyond 100% on reactor capacity, which is 100% is everything. So that's not technically possible.
Go to 115%. Turn it up to 11.
115. Remove all safety measures from the torpedoes. And then once again, this time, which is less likely to work because got no idea how his boat's handling. But this time, Red October now commanded by the CEO of USS Dallas, while Ramius is actually bleeding around in a corner, and his XO is dead. Turns around, followed by the Russian torpedo, and managed to dodge it in a way that makes it hit the Alpha class submarine, which leads to the famous last words of its XO telling his captain that he's an arrogant ass and has killed us all because he's removed the safety features from the torpedo to be able to hit anything at that range. So that's the end of the main antagonist of the film. Then we get to the inlet bit, and I think the film ends actually with Ryan flying back home, having purchased a giant teddy bear for his daughter, now being cured of his previous fear of flights after yeeting himself out of a helicopter, and is now able to peacefully sleep through turbulence on a transatlantic flight.
That's right. That's that teddy bear is the brother for his daughter's teddy bear Stanley.
Yeah.
Because she asked for a brother, didn't she?
Yeah.
And then she said she'd settle for a brother for a teddy bear.
Incidentally, the toy that they talk about him wanting to buy in the book is a Barbie. I think it's a skiing Barbie. Which would not have looked so cool in the film because you would have had to have like zoomed in like a tiny Barbie sitting in the passenger seat next to him, in the airline seat next to him, and it would have looked fucking stupid.
The bear's credited in the movie as well.
Stanley as himself, yes. You notice how Jack Ryan totally fucking mansplains turbulence to an air hostess at the start of the film, by the way.
That's so bad. Warm air rises, cool air sinks, causes. It's like, what the dude, mate? She works on planes for a living. I think she knows what turbulence is.
Yeah, she's. You see, every fucker who's encountered Jack Ryan in this film probably talks about him. Every character is like, this Jack Ryan guy was so cool, or he's a good American, he's one of the good ones, or wow, what a fucking baller jumping out of a helicopter to get himself on the ship. But this one air stewardess, she's the one who impersonates him in a silly voice at all like friends' parties and stuff. My rises, Connor. Fuck you. Fucking hates him. And later in the Ryan verse, when he becomes president accidentally, just like that fucking guy.
I didn't vote for him.
Speaking of impersonating and mimicking voices, I've actually left out one of the other great quotes from this movie.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention this.
Russians don't take a dump without having a plan, son. Which is something like comes up during Ryan's arrival on the
he does it
in the film version U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, where he briefs the admiral and the CEO of the carrier on what he thinks Ramius is doing, and he's entirely not taken seriously because it brings zero evidence except for his vivid imagination. And is then met with that quote, and he brings that up while he's having a fairly steamy shower later on, and then has a genius idea how to get a crew off a nuclear submarine.
Yeah,
does it again. He does two impressions. He does the impression of Ramius as well, when Ramius is warning him about going into the missile magazine. Like, be careful in there. Some things don't react well to bullets. And then he's crawling around it, and he does it again. But he does a Sean Connery impression, which I think is great. So he doesn't put on a Russian accent. He does a Sean Connery impression. Oh, some things don't react well to bullets. So it's like, yeah, like me, I don't react well to bullets.
This is what they call lampshade hanging.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that.
So yeah, should we take a quick break and then we'll go into the second portion of the podcast? Categories. Okay.
Cool, welcome back. Right, so let's do some categories for the movie. First one I was going to look at was the casting. So this movie's full of big hitters. Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, Scott Glenn, who's looked about the same age since The Right Stuff, Sam Neill, James Earl Jones, Richard Jordan from Logan's Run.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Runner!
I
That guy.
actually did not catch him. Oh shit! Who was he?
Yeah, he's Pelt, the ambassador guy.
Oh fuck!
The politician, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Peter Firth from Spooks as well as Putin.
Yeah.
Gets killed.
I did not
Tim Curry from being Tim Curry.
Tim Curry's a brilliant fucking casting choice as well, because like if anyone's gonna be the hidden hidden antagonist, you're gonna think it's Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah, I've got some stuff for Tim Curry coming up, and then I've got Stellan Skarsgård from recently Andor and Mamma Mia. And other stuff in his long storied career. And then, as I think we mentioned already, but Gates McFadden from Star Trek TNG. Yeah. So this was made in the gap, I think, where she wasn't in it. She wasn't in it for like season 2 and some of season 3. And I think during that period, she filmed this. Kevin Costner and Harrison Ford both turned down the role for Jack Ryan this time round.
Right.
And obviously they would both then go on to be in Jack Ryan movies, and Harrison Ford obviously come back to be Jack Ryan, and then Sean Connery, who obviously worked with both those guys as well. So Sean Connery worked with Kevin Costner in The Untouchables, and obviously Harrison Ford, he worked with because Sean Connery was his dad in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. Yeah, so it's a funny story about how Harrison Ford got the role of Jack Ryan. So obviously they asked him for this. He was the first choice, and your mileage may vary about whether that would have made it a better movie. Personally, I love Harrison Ford, so I think maybe it would have been. It's also not the first time that Harrison Ford worked with Alec Baldwin. So they were together in Working Girl. I don't know if you remember Working Girl.
Right.
Melanie Griffith You've never seen Working Girl?
Sorry,
holy crap, man! Yeah. Right, this is the wrong podcast for this, but Working Girl's a great movie.
Cool, dude.
Right, if we were doing a romantic comedy podcast, we could do Welcome to Clear and Present Dames. We're talking about the 1980 movie. I don't know what year it is. Working Girl. Right. Okay. So Alec Baldwin, right, plays. So it's got Melanie Griffith, right, and her whole thing is that she wants to be this career woman, and she's like following. She wants to make it in the corporate world of business in New York in the 80s, power suits, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she starts right at the bottom, and she's working for Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver's terrible, all right, and she's working for her. But at the same time, there's another person in the office, or as like a client or something like that, I can't quite remember, who's played by Harrison Ford. And she starts a relationship with Harrison Ford. But her ex, right, is like from New Jersey, because she gets the Staten Island ferry every morning across from Staten Island. So she's from Staten Island to Manhattan every day. All right, so back in Staten Island, her ex is played by Alec Baldwin, and he's doing like the broadest. It's amazing. He's like, "Hey, I'm Baldwin here." It's so funny. Like, "Hey, what you talking about?" It's so good. So, what I'm trying to say is, this isn't the first time that Harrison Ford has eaten Alec Baldwin's lunch. So, what happens, right? Is back to Clear and Present Dudes. Thank you very much. Alec Baldwin was asked if he'd like to come back to do Patriot Games, and he turned it down and said, "I want to do it for X amount of money." And the producers saw that amount of money and said, "We could get Harrison Ford for that kind of money." So they did get Harrison Ford for that kind of money instead, and just had Harrison Ford. So Alec Baldwin really shot himself in the foot on that. But he did go on to do The Shadow in 1994. So who won really? Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford won. Harrison Ford won is the answer.
Hands fucking down.
Other people that were linked to the movie. So
Darth Vader.
These are all considered for the role of Jack Ryan. Okay, Jeff Bridges, Richard Gere, Mel Gibson, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, Christopher Lambert, which would have been a cool Highlander reunion. Stephen Lang, who you might know as being Ike Clanton in Tombstone, or the bad guy from Avatar. Michael Nuri. Michael Nuri, who you simply won't know. Kurt Russell, Bill Paxton, Ron Perlman, Sylvester Stallone, Patrick Swayze, who I think could have been good for the same reasons we talked about him being good and no. He could have grabbed that chef, pulled out his throat. I used to fuck men like you in the gulag.
I used to fuck guys like you in the academy.
yeah. At Annapolis. I used to fuck. And then finally, John Travolta and Bruce Willis. Obviously, this would have been John McClane, basically back with John McClane on a submarine.
Yippee-ki-yay! What a fucking memo!
Yippee-ki-yay!
I'm an analyst. Fucking
somehow
infiltrate a few submarines, have a few laughs. I have an ICBM. Ho ho ho!
Somehow the cook gets thrown off a really tall building while still on a submarine.
He gets like thrown down from the tip of one of the missiles from that big cathedral-sized fucking missile chamber they've got. Those are some absolutely wild choices.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson would have been wild as well.
Oh God, yeah.
It's like I have got one facial expression, and it is disdain. I am also here to make some anti-Semitic remarks on set.
Yeah, deeply uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the Mel Gibson, Jack Ryan would just be given like the worst fucking intelligence briefs. He'd be like, that all the world's wars are like the responsibility of the small group of people, right?
The guys up there.
I mean, I'll give him his due as an action movie actor, and I do think he was a really fucking good Mad Max. But I think there is a narrow spectrum of films that he would be suited for, and he's not suited to play a CIA analyst.
So who would be good out of that list?
Yeah.
Val Kilmer could have done a good job.
Yeah.
Got a love for Val Kilmer. I think he would have taken it seriously. I think the one thing I find weird about this movie, and some of these casting choices reflect it, not all of them, but some of them do, is Alec Baldwin looks really young in this movie.
Yeah.
But he's still married to Kathy and has like a 5-year-old. Is it Sarah? Is the daughter? 5-year-old daughter anyway. By this point, and obviously they keep that for Patriot games.
Yeah.
But is it too? And I'm not totally ready on the Clancyverse. Is this maybe too? Is he too young to have a family and like a young, like he's not particularly like young family, but not like super young family, not toddlers, like 5-year-old going to school. Like he looks super young, and to be where he is at the CIA at that same point, I just don't know. Seems weird.
I mean, in the book, and something it's like, when you feel fucking seen by a book, man. I tell you what, a lot of Tom Clancy's characters in his books are a bit fat and a bit knackered, and that's what I like, because I'm a bit fat and a bit knackered. And so fucking Batman Cuso's like overweight in the book, and he's not in the film, and it's bullshit. It's thin washing of people who want fat bastards like me. But anyway,
where's he getting good nutritious food from on a Los Angeles class submarine?
Yeah,
What's going on?
I mean, the chief of the boat's a big lad. The chief of the boat's fucking heavy, but the cop appears and starts being a little bit almost kind of racist to Jonesy. Like he's he's fucking thinning Jonesy out a bit, isn't he? And that's not on.
Queen of the boat.
But yeah.
That's actually a continuity mistake in the film. They've changed the name of the chief of the boat.
What, in the middle of the movie? I did not.
Yeah. I think it's something at the start. I've read this somewhere earlier, and at the end he's suddenly Chief Watson.
I did not know. I did not pick up on that at all.
Also, the dates are off. On the presentation. Like Ramius's letter or orders state he should be back home on the 16th or thereabout, and the briefing that Ryan has to deliver is allegedly on the 23rd. So there's a whole week where nobody apparently said something about a whole fucking submarine disappearing that should have been back in port.
Shit, guys. Right, I've got some good detail on this guy. This guy's called Larry Ferguson, the guy who plays Chief on the boat. Right. He's got some acting credits. He's got a lot of writing credits. Okay. He's only got a handful of acting credits. His acting credits are literally Hunt for October, a movie called Beyond the Law with Charlie Sheen in it. Looked quite big there for Charlie Sheen. And Last Action Hero. Okay. Where he plays himself. Weird. But then he's got a lot of stuff in the script and continuity department, ironically. Okay. So and in the script and continuity department stuff is Under Siege, the Bad Boys movies, Master and Commander, right? He's got a writing credit for Hunt for October. He's got a writing credit for everyone's favorite Alien movie, Alien 3. And yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah, brilliant. That's this guy. I was looking on this guy because I thought he might have been the guy who played the captain of Red Dwarf in Red Dwarf.
Yes, because he does look a little
so I clicked on him thinking that's what I was going to see, but no, he's a much more interesting guy. Yeah. Oh, and also, sorry, writing credit on Highlander.
Fucking amazing. I'll really quickly circle back to my kind of half finished tangent there regarding Jack Ryan's age and stuff. I think, like, obviously, as I said in like the book, he's a bit of a fat and knackered guy already, which I appreciate. I'm seen by this book. He's definitely presented as younger, and he's still a little bit too young to have, a kid like that. And Gates McFadden looks significantly, in the most respect, significantly older than him.
Sure.
I mean, that's absolute respect to Gates McFadden, would, but that's absolute respect to Gates McFadden, but she does look a fair bit older than him. He does look very young in this film.
Right, so Ramius has one particular casting wife, which is amazing. Arnold Schwarzenegger was considered for the role of Ramius.
Ryan, you got here by chopper.
Fucking hell. Can you imagine having to serve on a submarine with a guy the size of fucking Arnie? He must have been a fucking nightmare when he did his own military service as a tank driver. Can you imagine being on a crew with Arnie as the fucking driver? Jesus. And I mean, it isn't the first time they've made him play a Russian either, because obviously he was in Red Heat. But Arnie's got more gravitas about him than people think. And I'll always say he's got more gravitas about him than people think. But he
could do it now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he probably could. He probably could have done it 15 years ago as well. Like for the
But at that point, when he was, 1990.
Well, so put it this way: Terminator 2: Judgment Day had yet to come out, hadn't it?
Yeah.
Because was that 92?
Terminator 2: Judgment Day was 91. So
91.
He'd already played Captain Ivan Danko in Red Heat 2 years previously, which is why someone probably absolutely chonged a few lines of cocaine and said, "You can be a Russian again," which he just come off the back of obviously Predator and The Running Man in 1987, Red Heat and Twins in 1988. 1990 he made Total Recall and Kindergarten Cop, so really his dance card was kind of full that year anyway.
Yeah, so he's clearly on an upswing, which is why they considered him.
Absolutely. I mean, he was kind of one of the multiple multiple peaks of his career. I mean, just coming off showing he could do Total Recall and Kindergarten Cop. He can do sci-fi action and comedy. Then he's done Red Heat. He's done Twins, which was legitimately a fucking really good comedy, and also led Sylvester Stallone to make the ultimate mistake of making Stop on My Mom Will Shoot, because he thought he could do comedy as well, and he couldn't. So yeah, total tangent.
That's mental. But Stallone was considered for, as I mentioned earlier, Stallone was considered for Ryan. So you can imagine a Stallone Arnie. Yeah. Jack Ryan, Marko Ramius.
Fucking hell,
that would have been insane. It would have been so bad.
So he was considered for. So he was considered for Jack Ryan or Ramius.
No. Stallone. Stallone was considered for Ryan. And Schwarzenegger considered. Do you imagine that movie?
It's fucking hell. Just. Oh, I'm not even going to attempt to do a Sylvester Stallone impression, but Sylvester Stallone would not be believed me with.
Wait, so obviously Stallone had already ended the Cold War in Rocky IV, but this posits a world in which Stallone had not ended the Cold War, and it was still kind of carrying on. But yeah, can you imagine? Like, you know, like, oh, I met you at an embassy. You probably don't remember. I heard about your wife. I'm very sorry. Like, thank you. Oh, thank you. Like, what the fuck?
In the fucking briefing scene, when Jack Ryan first goes like, you know, son of a bitch or whatever, he's like, oh, son of a bitch. It's the anniversary of his wife's death. And then some general has to try and intimidate the fucking like monster that is Sly Stallone by saying, "What do you know? You're just an analyst. You're just a fucking massive jacked analyst. You know, you're just this, like, you're just this fucking monstrously huge analyst who eats like fucking like 3 steaks for breakfast and takes up like 2 fucking chairs because you're huge." It's like, you know, it's.
I am afraid of planes.
Yeah.
It's not very believable.
And yeah, fucking hell, I can't get my head around Arnie as Marko Ramius. My wife died. I'm really sad about it. I've been the senior captain in the Russian Navy for 40 years, even though I'm currently in my mid-30s. I am simply built different. That would be bad. That kind of noise that he makes with eyes fucking. It's like,
yeah,
just like
get to the ops room.
Yeah, get to the ops room.
Some things here do not react well to bullets. Yeah.
Screw you. I think Sean Connery is really believable as a man who could quickly and deftly beat another man to fucking death in his office. And while Arnie can obviously do that, especially at that age.
Because he might have done it before.
Yeah. And I mean, Arnie could obviously do that at his stage in his career as well, and still now, because he's fucking humongous. But Sean Connery has his way of delivering fucking very, like, abrupt violence that he honed in the James Bond films that I think made it perfect for that one scene.
It's absolutely brain dead. Final casting wife is Tommy Lee Jones was considered for the role of Captain Bart Mancuso, which would have been good. But I'm perfectly happy with Scott Glenn. I think Scott Glenn's portrayal of him is probably one of the most believable characters in the movie. Actually, naval officer to naval officer, he seems like the most kind of standard American naval officer that I've met.
I'd say I think Tommy Lee Jones would have been a good Bart Mancuso, definitely.
Yeah, he would have been great. Yeah, so this is before The Fugitive, I think. So he hasn't got his random Oscar for that. I don't know how he gets an Oscar for that. He's great, but I don't see how that quite small part gets an Oscar. Separate thing for a separate podcast.
Yeah, he just intimidates some people in the Academy. That's why he's like, you know.
It's probably what passes for a diversity pick in the 90s in Hollywood. Quotes. Best quote of the movie? There's a lot to choose from. There's a lot more than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah.
For the product of
I mean, we've already had 3 pretty good ones.
Yeah. There's a few that didn't make the cut, but I think are pretty good. My favorite, the one I got, and again, this is pretty niche, but there's during the fucking spec navigating wankery bit where they're doing the stopwatch.
Yeah.
Dead reckoning navigation through the canyon.
Yeah.
There's a bit there where one guy's like, "Stop pissing, Yuri. Give me a stopwatch and a map, and I'll fly the Alps in a plane with no windows." Fucking
because Aeroflot has a really good track of blind flying.
Incredible.
Like they did that and they killed everyone several times.
You see, Ivan, all the capitalists need to have eyes open when flying.
Instrument is for musician. We do not do that.
Americans spend millions of dollars on navigation equipment. Russians use vibes.
Tell me what they didn't do during that, right? This is some spec end wankery coming out. I'm not a spec end. I'm just a normal human being. And maybe we should have a spec end on this podcast because that would fit in with the general theme of defense autists. But what they don't do during that sequence is every time they do a wheel over, they don't trip the log again to count how far they've traveled. So they're using the stopwatch and they're using ordered speed, but they're not checking the speed made good as they do it. So and I know they go on to absolutely fuck it off anyway and go way past their boat's length from where they were meant to go to, so they can try and run a torpedo into the fucking canyon and avoid getting hit and all that cool stuff. But that whole bit there though is like a bit dicey. Like they don't do the. They do. Yeah. The guy in charge is doing it, but he should be ordering like check the log and then looking at the log distance as well. You can't just do it off the stopwatch alone. You can use, I mean, they do it on submarines with the stopwatch, but they don't just use the stopwatch. They have the stopwatch and they make the wheelovers, but they're also tracking how far they're going as well.
Great quote from that scene is also Ramius going, "You're relieved," and the relief never shows up. He just keeps doing his job. So.
Yeah.
You're relieved, and he's like Uno reverse card.
Yeah.
No, you.
The navigator just before the start of that as well says like I'm ready to start the run, and he's like, very well, you may start your run. And the guy's like, okay, cool, starting in 3, 2. What the fuck? Well, it seems very much like you were going into it anyway.
I fucking love countdowns. I want to see men use stopwatches.
The real reason I joined the Navy.
Did the stopwatch thing track for you as interesting as a civilian? Because I've seen a lot of stopwatch based. I've done a bit of stopwatch based navigation before, but on a surface vessel, so the stakes are a bit lower. But like, is that interesting to you at all?
Yeah,
like,
actually it was. Yeah, it was cool as fuck, and B, it did track because obviously, I mean, like, you know, it's the understanding that, and then the book explains that they've got this particular area of Red Route 1, as they call it, incredibly well mapped out and stuff, and a lot of it's down to like the Giuseppe kind of raw kind of data they've got and the positioning, the dead reckoning, and like it's all done with maths, which I think is fucking cool because maths is like sorcery to me. I'm bad at it. Like, I mean, I've got a calculator on my desk and that's about it. It's like anything more complex than plus, minus, like whatever. That's not funny.
Autism time.
No, so yeah, as a civilian, yeah, like it definitely did worked. It did the job. It looked really cool. I understood what was going on.
What I liked about it is you compare it to. Do you see that Hunter Killer movie with Gerard Butler?
Oh yes,
that's a diabolically shit film. I really don't like it. And there's a bit in that where they do a bit of relatively shallow. It has to be shallow submarine navigation because there's a minefield in this area. And I can't remember who's the CEO now.
Gerard Butler.
Is it Jürgen? Is it Jürgen Prochnow? Sorry, there's a Russian CEO as well.
Is this the one where Gerard Butler's character's got a spotless record apart from one time he punched out his commanding officer?
It is something stupid like that, yeah. Oh, it might be Gary Oldman, weirdly. Right, okay. It's been a long time since I watched it, so I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, there's a bit where they're navigating through a similar sort of constrained navigation bit of water. They're in the submarine. The CEO takes the con, and they're looking at a chart. They're using some kind of funky chart display, I think. And at the same time, there's a bunch of like VSW anti-invasion mines, mud mines, in the channel and stuff as well. And you see lots of footage of them like going near these contact mines. You see lots of exterior shots of the submarine, and I think that dilutes the pressure a little bit. So yeah, it does one thing of showing you the stakes, blah 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 blah. I think it's shit. It's not done very well. But on Hunt for October, the fact that they stay in the boat the entire time, and all you've got is like the uncertainty of like, right, did that maneuver actually work? Like, it should have worked because I've calculated the advance and transfer or whatever. Nerdy terms. And you've got the time, and you've and theoretically he's tripping the log, but he's not doing that. Yeah. But they're doing all that kind of stuff. That should fucking work. But the problem is, right, all you're doing is you're looking around the control room at the other people in the control room, and you're looking at the chart display, and all you're doing is looking at the azimuth tick along, all that kind of stuff. And that's the tension. Like, you don't know if it worked.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it into like elevates it into a better scene. Is like they're just like you would love to give the audience like the pressure valve release of like seeing the exterior shot of the submarine not colliding into the fucking seamount. But actually, what withholds attention longer is that just like the people in the boat, you don't know whether or not that move out is worked, or if you're going to careen straight into something.
100%. Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's some fucking excellent.
That was a massive tangent about what was meant to be the best quote of the movie. but yeah. Anyway.
Can I just take a quick quote? Yeah, sorry. So, what's the matter, Commander? You don't like flying, huh? Oh, this is nothing. You should have been with us 5-6 months ago. Whoa, you talk about puke. We ran into a hailstorm over the sea in Japan. Everyone's retching their guts out. The pilot shot us lunch all over the windshield. I barfed on the radio, shouted it out completely. And it wasn't that lightweight stuff either. It was that chunky industrial weight puke. Offers him the candy bar he's been eating. Hey, you want a bite? Amazing.
Amazing.
Just that fucking C2's navigator just telling a funny story.
Yeah, that's good. And he generally looks like he's getting buffeted around a lot. Now that's turbulence.
Yeah,
that looks sick inducing.
You've got a navigator just doing psychic fucking damage to Jack Ryan about turbulence, and it's quite, and it's almost like turnabout is indeed fair play.
Yeah, there aren't any good ones, are there? There are no needle drops in this movie. But what my question to you then, and I'm going to do this whenever we haven't got a needle drop, is there a scene in this movie where it would have benefited instead of the score, the car's just what I needed?
The scene when Jack Ryan, Mancuso, Jonesy, and the other guy exit the DSRV and meet the Russians. That's when. Just what I need. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm also going to sort of all show. I'm getting Marko Ramius. I'm also going to. I'm also going to say that as far as the soundtrack goes, I mean, like, come on, it's Basil Polidorus, man, and that man loves his fucking singing. And I just think the scene when the crew starts singing is fucking badass. The sound design, I think, is brilliant. It's class. It's like.
That is good.
And the music that's playing over the end of the credits, I don't know if it's like the Hunt for October theme or whatever, but like it does weave a few elements of the Soviet national anthem in there, and you can kind of like hum the melody of the national anthem over it and still be in key with it, which I think is pretty fucking cool. Basil Polidorus rules, man. Basil Polidorus fucks, and the man loves his choirs. Basil Polidorus would definitely listen to Dungeon Synth if he was still alive. He fucking would.
Yeah. Basil Polidorus also did the music for, was it Under Siege, Starship Troopers, and some of its sequels
Conan
as well.
Conan
the Barbarian. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just what I needed. Just what I needed. Right. So basically, what it is, whenever I put that on, it's like a proper like 80s kind of one of those. So I it's just a fun thing I always do is like. Take a random scene and put that track into it and just see how it goes.
Yeah.
So I think you could literally have ended the movie that just the sort of it going away, the submarine going into the inlet, and just the intro coming on, and then obviously you get the montage of all the different people. Oh, you lost another submarine. In the car, in the plane with the bear. Just what I needed. But
you could also kind of have it playing like if you have Jack falling from a helicopter in slow motion, and it's like the opening lyrics. I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time, because when you're standing oh so near, I kind of lose my mind, and like it cuts to like just Bart Mancuso looking really stressed and pressed about the whole thing.
How the magic coming here? Yeah, wasting all my time. Yeah, class. Anyway, shall we? We've done quite a lot of the IMDb trivia already, I think.
Yeah, I was looking at a few goofs actually, and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and it'll be a very quick one, but some of that I fucking disagree with. So in the goofs section, when the F-14 crashes on the deck, archive footage of an F-9F crash is shown. Well, yeah, they're not going to crash a fucking F-14 just for the film, are they? I mean.
Yeah, and to do it with miniatures would have been epic.
And I mean, there's a small amount of people who are gonna be upset that it's an F9F. I wasn't fucking upset that it was an F9F. I was like, the sequence of colours on Spot's beach ball's wrong. Like because they're not gonna fucking destroy a Tomcat for a film. Come on, dude.
And you do get the wide shot of the carrier going with and they've obviously done an effect, use some smoke grenades or whatever to make it look like it's on fire.
Exactly.
So you get that big long establishing shot of it in high def with a black deck. And it looks good.
Another goofy had 2 torpedoes that dropped, first from a Russian bomber, then from an American helicopter. At different times in the vicinity of October, the same footage is used for each different torpedo. As they enter the water, the splash is identical for each. I wondered if that was the case, but it's like a torpedo dropping from the sky looks like a torpedo dropping from the sky.
They are different torpedoes.
None of this is up there with how Meteor used like some stock footage of some people on a skiing marathon to show that 12,000 people had died horribly when a meteor hit Switzerland. You know, although it is true that sailors would receive on-the-job training, they must first attend schooling in their specific fields. In the case of sonar man Beaumont, he would not be so clueless as to not know how to handle his situation when on an actual deployment. It would be dangerous for the Navy to operate that way. Gentlemen, you have.
I'm going to step in here and say that that's perfectly plausible to see someone be that bad at their job.
Yes.
On to have like a what would be an ABT who's just graduated and is no longer untrained strength, but is quote unquote trained strength, but they're not at a raw performance standard yet. So basically, what happens is you get these people who've done their basic training, they've done their phase 2 training, which is essentially a familiarization and basic competence and understanding of the kit that they'll be expected to operate when they get on board, but they won't have done significant hours on the kit to achieve any kind of mastery yet, and they won't have done like the vast quantity of secondary duties that they have. So they'll be familiar with and have a basic qualification in stuff like damage control, that kind of thing. They'll have a basic understanding of the seamanship aspects of their job. But what they won't do is they won't have achieved any kind of mastery in that. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll turn to a ship, and again, I'm not 100% sure if the US Navy runs exactly the same way, but it's probably does. Is they'll turn to their unit with a task book that they'll need to achieve their sort of their role performance standard, or what we used to call OPS, operational performance standard, where they'll do all that stuff, get it ticked off by their various heads of department. That will then go to the as in like from the supervisors, and then it'll go to the head department, who will then check it's all been done, and after what's called like an RPS review, with an oral board or something like that, and having done a series of all these various tasks in the task book, they'll sign it off and say, boom, you are no longer an AB2, you are qualified to be an AB1, the Able Seaman First Class, I suppose, and they can do their job. But they'll rock up to the unit and do at-sea on-job training. In fact, it's only the Mine Warfare branch in the Royal Navy that does any kind of at-sea training before they go to a unit at sea. It's the only branch where they achieve their TPS having done any sea time zone. There's only 1 week to do some certain evolutions. Everyone else, so all your different water aspects, all your other branches, they will all do all of their phase 2 training, not necessarily ever having set foot on a warship. And then they'll turn to a warship with their task book and do all their training there. So that goof is bollocks. Basically, that guy could rock up and be not a very good sonar operator and need a lot of close attention, because he might have scribbed through his TPS through his phase 2 training and has rocked up being a bit of a gash hand. See it all the time.
We've also got, in the incorrect goofs, a Soviet crewman is shown doing a Roman Catholic rather than a Russian Orthodox cross, assuming that's when he's genuflecting when he's on the deck of the Red October away in rescue, or watching Captain fighting the Americans. I forgot which bit it is. This is entirely possible. Some parts of the USSR, such as Ramius' home Republic of Lithuania, were heavily Roman Catholic. And I like that a plot of the book is that Ramius is like a stealth Catholic who was like baptized without his like dad's knowledge and stuff, because Tom Clancy's a good Catholic boy, and he needs to interject that a little bit. It's like, yeah.
Do you want to do your notes from the peanut gallery?
Notes from the peanut gallery. So once again, this is the part of the podcast when we find funny, unhinged reviews of the film mainly so far exclusively from Letterboxd. I think Letterboxd is great; it gives us a lot of content to work with. Thank you. So now, once again, none of these are used to mock people or suggest people have a go at any of the people who put these reviews in. I think they're great. I love them. All capitals. Every morning I wake up and open palm slam VHS into the slot. It's The Hunt for Red October. And right then and there, I start doing the moves alongside the main character, Jack Ryan. I do every move, and I do every move hard, making whooshing sounds when I slam down some red bastards, or even when I mess up technique. Not many can say they escaped the ocean's most dangerous submarine. I can. I say it, and I say out loud every day to people in my quarters, and all they do is prove people in my quarters can be immature jerks. And I've learned all the lines, that I've learned how to make myself and my bunk less lonely by shouting them all. Do it for America, Rory. 2 hours, including wind down every morning. Then I lift. I love this one. You have a 5-star here. Our dads didn't know how to talk about their feelings, but they knew how to make the hell of a submarine movie. 3 exclamation. This is actually a kind of long one, but I think it's kind of funny. 5 stars here. What I enjoy about this treasure is the precision of the filmmaking. Every character beat, no matter how tiny, has either a reflection or a payoff. Every scene leads into some sort of clever version of character moment after some grizzled actor with a rough face and a navy cap going, "Oh, Lieutenant Fuckler learned Russian so he could school a cello player on Shostakovich, and then the cello player killed his wife." And then 2 scenes later, Fuckler is like, "Hot damn, they're all singing anti-formalist Ryok." And they blow up a sonar boy with the power of cantatas. It's fucking great. Every performance is spectacular. Instead of the My Tom Clancy Tis of the War Machine spectacle porn nonsense, you get a sense of colossal and inevitable dread from all this authentic hardware. Everything always has to be perfectly calibrated or everyone blows up and dies. Shit goes sideways in the background more than once. A jet coming back cuts itself in half on an aircraft carrier while Command looks on with bleary-eyed cynicism, worried more about the bean counters than anything else. The Soviets are hamming it up as bizarrely chummy yet still slavically melancholic from moment to moment. They all waver from "I'm going to be obliterated by the vanity of man's delusion to make the sea his war" to "someday I'll move to Connecticut to be a very bored and go to a barbecue competition." At a moment's notice, it's all absolutely spectacular. Not a moment wasted. Young Jack Baldwin is all charisma and Sean Connery glowers with an amused vigour through every moment. Fucking master fucking piece. This movie is relentlessly good.
That's fucking awesome.
Coming in hot after this one, man, I love competency porn. If I saw this when I was 12, I would have heavily considered joining the Navy.
Well, the US Navy did post little recruitment boxes outside of the cinema. Or the screens for this movie, because they tried to do the same thing they did with Top Gun and try and get people into the submarine service off the back of it.
Holy crap, it's amazing. 3 stars. Fell asleep watching this on the couch like a real dad. 4 stars. Not a single pair of Yeezys in this entire movie. 3 exclamation marks. Pure uncut dad cinema. A bunch of grumpy dudes blinking, bleeping and blooping at each other under the sea. Sizing each other up through periscopes. Pinging each other, sweating and yelling at each other, wearing the biggest glasses you've ever seen, chain smoking in unventilated tin can chambers, blindly firing torpedoes into deep sea abysses. Just dudes being dudes.
Beautiful.
I'd find the Red October in like 5 minutes TBH. 4 stars. No one can make living in Montana and marrying a fat wife sound as appealing as Russian Sam Neill. Incredibly based.
Right. ML Kua, MD Kua of the movie.
Yes.
I'm obsessed. I want to make this a thing. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Please do.
Stop.
Please do. You see, this is what kind of pins us down as a defense / movies crossover when you talk about the most likely course of action versus the most dangerous course of action, so absolutely.
Here we go. So my ML Kua based off the end of this movie, right? The US, as you alluded to, it happened in the book. I didn't know this. US gets guys onto the submarine. They start ripping it apart. They develop their own caterpillar drive in various countermeasures. And they disk the signature information for the submarine to various allies, like it does already for a variety of service vessels and stuff. The USSR, in its weakened state anyway, is powerless to stop it, but despite this setback, continues with the development of the Typhoon-class submarine. Ramius makes a living as a civilian instructor to junior officers at Annapolis, with probably no real security clearance. But he's defected successfully, and they're using him to train people. That's what I think the Airborne Corps is. MD Corps, right. USSR, desperate to prevent the Caterpillar drive falling into the hands of the US, attempts a tactical nuke of the river that Jack Ryan grew up fishing on. Ramius is assassinated with Novichok. Jack Ryan's teddy bear is taken for ransom. Gates McFadden is so upset that her English accent drops and she becomes American again.
Just in time to go back to space.
Just in time to go back to space, yeah.
Holy shit, that's amazing. So looking at the most likely course of action. So this is as if anyone gives a fuck. But this is spoilers for the Tom Clancy novel Debt of Honor, in which Marko Ramius turns up again as Mark Ramsey, who definitely has security clearance and works with the CIA because he got recruited by them and stuff like that. No one gives a fucking shit about that. Spoiler though. I want to say most sad course of action. I'm pitching something here. Most sad course of action is that Marko Ramius becomes Mark Ramsey. He meets an American woman younger than him and have a child together, and he becomes very, very depressed because his child becomes a big fan of Hannah Montana, and he just can't abide to watch the fucking series because he's like,
every time he sees Montana,
he shouldn't have seen Montana like this, and he just ends up becoming very depressed and miserable, and then a Russian doctor kills his wife for the second time. That's most sad / most doomed course of action.
Right, Max. My next category is the most egregious oversell of the military-industrial complex. So apart from the Caterpillar drive itself, I would say my personal opinion is the miniature rescue sub with the attachment to fit onto various foreign submarine types exists. That's a real thing. That variations of that do exist. So that's not the oversell. The oversell is that it worked first time. With a guy who is dumb enough to get called Buckwheat later on in the movie. So that's it, really. Just a bit of military kit that worked. A bit of military guys, a bit funky about there, and it worked first time, and quickly as well. So they latched onto the Roxober, and within 2 minutes they were knocking on the hatch. Whereas in reality, that's at least a fucking 30-minute evolution of just nonsense happening.
Left a bit, right a bit, etc.
Left a bit, yeah. Did you watch? Have you guys seen Kursk? The dramatization of the Kursk disaster. Yeah, right. So there's the attempt to try and get into the Kursk using the Russians' own version of that, and it's horrific to watch. It takes ages. They keep fucking it up, and yeah, it's just like, Jesus Christ, you should have just taken the help that you were offered. Because the point I'm making for this really is that because it's all military gear, that's why I think it's amazing that it worked first time, because there's commercial stuff that probably does.
I mean, some of the commercial stuff does. I think if Stockton Rush had anything to do with this, it would have turned out very, very fucking badly indeed.
Yeah, there are certain commercial submersibles that don't that do not work so well. Another subject of Netflix documentaries,
which I watched the other night, by the way.
Oh, is it good? I've not watched it.
Oh, dude, it's fucking really good. But man, it just makes you want, like, just kind of kill billionaires, you know.
Next category. Right, I love this one. Would this movie be better if it had Dr. Jack Ryan, Dr. Richard Kimball, or President James Marshall in it? I posit a world in which there is a temporal paradox in which there are two Jack Ryans running around. One is Harrison Ford's Jack Ryan, the other is Alec Baldwin Jack Ryan. And the Harrison Ford Jack Ryan has got his own crisis, but he's in the Pentagon trying to stop the orders to fire upon the Red October from getting out.
That's amazing. You're Jack Ryan. I'm not that Jack Ryan. It's like Ramius like, oh, you're Jack Ryan. I'm not that fucking Jack Ryan. Okay, there's two of them. There's another one. He's not fucking me. I'm the one who writes books.
Doctor Who? I'm the Jack Ryan.
You're that Jack Ryan. Holy shit, that's amazing.
Admiral Greer, sir. We threw the wrong Ryan out of the fucking helicopter.
That's President James Marshall.
I mean, you could easily put in President James Marshall in this film, because this film, unlike the last film we watched, but like the first film we watched, No Way Out, doesn't show the president, does it? So you can easily have President James Marshall. The only thing is, you might want to kind of get stuck in himself, you know. And it's like, I'm going onto that submarine, and they're like, Mr. President, you can't. And he's like, get off my plane.
Get off my Marine One.
Yes. Just like, imagine just Air Force One just like sneaking up on one of those fucking bear foxtrots and just kind of like just looming against it. It's like so like, instead of the scene when Tomcats bounced into the bear and being fucking like damaged, you just see slow motion of a fucking 747 just slowly descending for some clouds on top of this fucking strategic bomber, and just whoop.
And he does the wire transfer thing that he does at the end of.
Oh my god, you
Force
do
One.
that as well. Holy fuck, man, that film is a fever dream. We need to watch that for the pod.
My next category is: would this movie have benefited from Lieutenant Commander Samuel L. Jackson, USN, like in Patriot Games? I'm going to say this every time. Mos Def, definitely.
100%.
And this is it. So, I've already figured this out. So, what he needs to do, right? He should have been the XO of the
Motherfucker,
USS
that
Dallas.
torpedo
right?
never happened.
So Scott Glenn's gone off onto the Red October. Samuel L. Jackson takes command.
Yeah.
Or conduct, because the CEO's not there. And he, right, here's what I think. He's doing all the cool, funky maneuvers. The Dallas has come along, right? And you know how there's the bit where they're trying to drag the torpedo away?
Yeah.
By rapidly surfacing the boat, and the XO's there, and he's like,
put us on the roof.
Yeah, all that, right? But except that exact same thing happens again, but Samuel L. Jackson has a significantly better fucking quote.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, I'm sorry, Boris, but you just got cockbucked by the big D. Yeah. Oh, what was it?
Instead of the air stewardess, it's an air steward. Sorry, so instead of an air stewardess, it's an air steward. And Jack Ryan's like, oh, turbulence, you know, and he's like, shut up, bitch! He literally just like calls Jack Ryan a bitch, and then slaps him a little bit. And then just, so he just slaps Jack Ryan a bit when he starts.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then just cuts him to being in Dillard's International like nothing happened.
Yeah. Listen, motherfucker. Fucking get in. Alternatively, you could have he could have been the chief of the boat and taken a little bit of the fucking racial tension out the scene when he's thinning Jonesy out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because yikes, dog.
Is this movie pro or anti-CIA? I think it's pretty obvious. It's pretty pro CIA, I think.
Completely, absolutely pro CIA.
It's one guy from the CIA going around. He's schooling generals.
Yeah.
He's schooling skeptical members of the U.S. Navy.
Yeah.
And the U.S. Army. He's getting on board submarines. He's fucking talking down the Russian bear. He's doing it all.
Yeah.
He's one of the CIA's nerds, isn't he? He's the CIA's biggest nerd.
Pro CIA or is it pro nerd? What I mean, there's other CIA people who are just getting disregarded, and he's telling them they're wrong as well.
Should we do the Ding Chavez Award for the missed opportunity of the movie?
Yeah.
This is going to be fun when we do Clear Present Danger, and the Ding Chavez Award will go to Ding Chavez.
Yeah.
But the Ding Chavez Award to the missed opportunity. All right, okay. So my one here, and it's the only one I've got, is Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Plays his role as a doctor pretty straight in this movie. And he kind of just bows out once they land the crew. And because he's the one officer on board who wasn't in on the defection.
Yeah.
But I would say that he has massive potential for a scene where like he uncovers what's going on and the rest of the wardroom have to club together to kill him. And then you have a whole kind of murder on the Orient Express situation where they've all had to do it. And then you had a whole big dramatic death scene where like Tim Curry's found out what's going on. He has a dramatic monologue and then he gets absolutely battered to bits.
Absolutely. There's also scope for him saying that he's leaving the submarine and he's going to the one place that's not being corrupted by capitalism. Space! Spice! As he ties himself to one of the missiles and fires it.
I fired everything I've got at you. I'm now going to the one place that has not been corrupted by capitalism.
Spice! He's
That's a little...
like I do like how fucking incredibly naive the character is. How he doesn't see the whole officer's conspiracy that's right in front of him, but it's like, oh, they'll give you the Order of Lenin for this, and it's like, no, they won't. No, they won't. And you, Comrade Doctor, as the only fucking officer who's got off the boat, is probably going to spend the rest of your life breaking rocks in Siberia if you're fucking lucky.
Cool. Final category, command and signals, where we try and give a call sign to each of the major characters in the movie. We'll start with Jack Ryan, who, because this is Alec Baldwin on this occasion, I've went with call sign Donaghy, like his character in 30 Rock. But I think you've got a better one.
You could have just Bear Hunter, both because he's looking for a teddy bear and because he's also tracking down the Russians. And it's a kind of call sign that in real life no one would get to sound because it's too badass. It's got a very fucking self-assigned call sign kind of thing. Just call me Crimson Reaper. Okay, Chris. Yeah.
Admiral Greer. Again, I'm keeping it really basic, just to spark conversation. Admiral Greer, Vader, because it's James Earl Jones, or Mufasa.
Oh yes. Oh, they could have you have disappointed me for the last time, Admiral. They could have put that in there somewhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, nowadays they wouldn't be able to avoid it.
Yeah.
It would be focus grouped into it.
Yeah, and do you think they would have a post-credit sequence if it was made in current year? This is something we can consider. Would this film have a jokey post-credit sequence current year?
So something I love about this movie is that even though there's a Jack Ryan series of novels,
yeah,
and they were going to make more movies anyway, they didn't end this with some gash sequel bait where they were where they were going to queue up Patriot Games or anything like that. Did you hear? There's apparently been a fucking shooting in London or something like that. Nothing like that.
Yeah. Who was involved? Jack Ryan. Him again. Oh God. Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what would work as a post-credit scene though? Suddenly finding out that Borodin isn't dead. Just like a few seconds of him driving a truck around Montana.
That'd be so nice, wouldn't it?
I want that. I fucking want that. And you could get a really good fucking needle drop at the end with some proper fucking heartland kind of fucking country rock playing as he drives around Montana, and he's got a large American wife next to him.
Oh,
and
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Glory Days.
Glory Days is playing. He's got a fucking hefty wife. There's rabbits in cages in the back of the car because they raised them, and then she's gonna cook them for him. And yeah, he's happy as fuck, and he drives off into the fucking sunset,
Or and he's got a recreational trailer on his truck.
Yes.
That's amazing. And then, right, okay, we see the van drive away. All right, we're looking at kind of like a sort of a wide shot. The camera pans up from the road up, and we see the gates it's driving through. Jurassic Park.
It's the fucking crossover no one ever expected.
I couldn't think of one from Marko Ramius, which is really bad because I could have made any number of James Bond jokes and just couldn't be bothered. Or The Rock. Yeah.
His call sign is teapot or kettle.
Oh.
Yeah. Samovar. What would you call Tupolev? What would his call sign be?
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's a really good one. Chainsmoker.
Chainsmoker. I like it. He's such a fucking dick. I can't even try honor him with a fucking call sign.
I don't want to give him a good one.
Yeah.
I love Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's. I burned my life for a sunrise I'll never see. I love that. It's great.
I want it to just have like a powerful generic call sign like I used to have when I used to do for security. Just like you're echoing whatever numbers on the back of your fucking radio. You know. There you go. Echo 3 now. Fuck off.
This is a good. I love it, man. Talking on the subject of self-assigned call signs, did I ever tell you what I used to do when I was a gunnery officer when I had a team? So obviously you have normally what happened. I used to be a gunnery officer on a MCMV, and part of your job is your weapon director visual for the upper deck weapons crew.
Yeah.
In various postures, either you're reacting to something and you've got everyone up there, or there's quite a routine business of going in different postures. In and out of port, you tend to have the upper deck weapons manned as well.
Yeah.
Just as a general thing. And ordinarily, and for real, you would just name them after what position they're at. So you've got like port and starboard weapons positions. So you've got P1, S1, P2, S2, aft. And if you have a 30mm, you just call them 30mm as well. But to make it fun, I used to get on comms at the start and be like, right, guys, today we're all going to be named after sharks. So P1, you're going to be Mako. P2, you're going to be Tiger. like S1, you're going to be Great White.
That's fucking amazing.
I used to do this shit, yeah.
That's class fun.
And then I wouldn't do it very often, but then I'd be like, a few weeks later, I'd be like, right, guys, today we're going to be types of potato. So P1, you're Maris Piper.
I really loved the scene in I don't know if it's in the first or the second season of the Battlestar Galactica remake when they have drafted in a bunch of essentially civilians off the ship into the kind of air wing to train them on the Viper fighters and stuff. And there's this one guy who thinks he's a total hotshot and he biffs a landing badly, and fucking Starbucks just thinning him out in a brief in front of the men and saying, "Your new call sign's hot dog," and it's just thinning him out with this kind of insulting call sign. I like that.
I love that. It's class. Yeah. Oh man, we should talk about Battlestar on this one because I've got a lot to talk about. Even just the mini series.
We should do the mini series, and that's a good pivot to the next episode actually, because
oh shit, yeah,
the next episode we are sticking with the Clancyverse. We are doing Op Center from 1995, 5 years after the Hunt for Red October. We had inflicted upon us the Op Center mini-series, which was made with a much lower budget than the Hunt for October. We determined we were going to watch this mini-series by using a random number generator on the 170 or something films and TV series we've added to a list. This looks pretty fucking bad. I've found a Blu-ray of it that is like £161.03. We're not going to watch the miniseries. We're going to watch just the abridged film version on YouTube, which is shorter than the miniseries and also free to watch. So that's going to be up at some point. We're going to dig into Tom Clancy's Op Center, and it's going to be fun, I'm sure. It's definitely going to be a fucking step down from this absolute marvel of a film.
Awesome. Thanks so much for listening. I've been Mike.
I've been Rory, as usual. Sanya's been Sanya.
I'm never quite sure what to say.
Well, that's okay, man. So yeah, that's it for this episode. We'll catch you on the next one. So peace out, and just remember the CIA are definitely your friends, even if you end up in some kind of black site being waterboarded. They do it because they love you.
Oh no, and remember, next time, write a memo.
Perfect.
When the dust settles from this, there's going to be hell to pay in Moscow.
Perhaps. Maybe some good will come from it. A little revolution now and then is a healthy thing, don't you think? Do you still like to fish, Ryan? There's a river, not unlike this one, near Vilnius, where my grandfather taught me to fish. And the sea will grant each man new hope, as sleep brings dreams of home. Christopher Columbus.
Welcome to the New World, sir.
I guess you're just what I